I'm super excited because this race is honoring one of my sports idols, who is also one of the secret heroes of the Holocaust, an Italian named Gino Bartali. During World War II, Gino Bartali risked his life, helping to save hundreds of Jews from the Nazis. He did this by smuggling fake documents inside his bike. He rode thousands of kilometers just under the nose of the Nazis, who were everywhere. The Giro d'Italia is known as the world's second most important bike race. Raced over 3,000 kilometers, 21 stages, there are over 1 billion people watching the Giro every year. Bartali won the Giro d'Italia 3 times, the Tour de France twice, and he set records that never been beaten. Bartali is more than a cyclist. He's a national hero in Italy. The fact that Giro d'Italia organizers agreed to bring the race to Israel was mainly thanks to his story and what he symbolized for Israel and for Italy.
This story begins on the eve of World War II, July 1938. Italy is a police state ruled by a fascist, totalitarian government led by dictator Benito Mussolini. There is no free speech, government opponents are silenced or killed. Gino Bartali, a devout and feisty Italian cycling champion, represents his country at the Tour de France. The Italians, who had embraced Nazi ideology, see this as their chance to prove they are part of the master race. Bartali wins and is expected to dedicate his win to Mussolini and the fascists. But instead he makes a defiant choice. He insults Mussolini by ignoring him in his victory speech. The dictator is angry and disgusted and refuses to honor Bartali when he returns home. This will not be the last time Bartali stands up against the racist regime to do what he believes is right. September 1938, the fascists passed laws restricting Jews in almost every way. They stripped foreign-born Jews of their Italian citizenship and herd them into internment camps. They confiscate the property of native-born Italian Jews, expel them from their jobs, bar them from schools and colleges, and require them to register for a special Jewish census that constantly informs the fascists where they are. The next year, Italy and Germany make a pact of steel and agree to become allies should war break out. In September, the Nazis invade Poland and World War II begins. 1939 to 1942. Life is hard for Italian Jews, but for the moment, the only yellow stars are the ones in the sky. They can move freely around the cities and villages, and there are no cattle cars to Auschwitz and the crematoria. And because of this, Jews flee from all over Europe to Italian-occupied territory, trying to escape the Nazis. Through the winter and spring of 1943, Italian forces suffered defeats in North Africa and the Eastern Front. Meanwhile, Allied forces invade Sicily and bomb major cities. Italy is on the verge of defeat, yet Mussolini refuses to surrender. July 25, 1943. Faced with popular unrest, Mussolini is deposed and arrested. Italians celebrate the end of the fascist police state. September 1943. The new government signs an armistice with the Allies, but the war is far from over, because the next day the Nazis respond by invading and occupying northern Italy. The Jews there are trapped, there is nowhere to flee, and almost every Jew immediately tries to hide. The Nazis begin hunting them, as in every country they conquer. Most of the captured are herded onto trains bound for Auschwitz. Others are murdered on the spot. Bartali, a devout Catholic, is summoned to a secret meeting with the Archbishop of Florence, Cardinal Elia della Costa. The Jews hiding in Florence and the surrounding countryside require food, shelter, and most importantly, false documents hiding their Jewish identity. An underground network devoted to saving them has arranged for counterfeit papers to be printed in Assisi, over 100 miles away. Photographs must be brought there and the finished papers returned to Florence. Bartali is asked to be the courier. If he's caught, he risks being killed. But Bartali has been keeping another secret. For several months has been hiding Jewish refugees, Giacomo Goldenberg and his family, in his apartment. He agrees to help. November 1943. Dawn. Bartali begins his first mission to Assisi with photographs and documents hidden in the frame of his bicycle. He shows his papers to the Nazi soldiers guarding the entrance to Florence and leaves the city. They assume he is simply training. Several hours later, he makes the steep ascent to the San Damiano monastery in Assisi. Safely inside the compound, he removes the fugitive's photos from his bicycle and gives them to Father Rufino Nicacci. The photos are used in false papers, printed at the nearby press of Luigi and Trento Brizzi. Nuns at the adjacent convent open the window and loudly sing vespers to drown out the sound of the press from the Nazis and fascists. That afternoon, Bartali receives counterfeit documents and heads back to Florence. Halfway home, Bartali approaches the Torontola train station, the main transfer point on the north-south rail line. The station is crawling with Nazi and fascist guards, hunting for dissidents and Jewish fugitives, trying to switch trains. Bartali waits to enter until the moment the trains approach. He heads to the canteen for a cappuccino. Large crowds surround one of Italy's biggest celebrities, looking for a hug or an autograph. While the guards are distracted by the commotion, refugees and dissidents transfer trains. At night, he arrives back in Florence and delivers the papers that will save people's lives. Over the following months, Bartali will repeat trips like this dozens of times.
Bartali was a sincere person. He used to say, "Il bene si fa ma non si dice." That's Italian for good is something you do, not something you talked about. He never actually talked about his heroic deeds for the Jewish people and how he risked his life during World War II. It wasn't until decades later, only when other members of the Assisi underground started talking about it, the story was exposed. The Jews he helped saving never actually saw him. Bartali was a delivery man and never actually met those people. Only in 2010, 10 years after Bartali passed away, Giorgio Goldenberg, who was a child during the Holocaust, gave evidence of how Bartali helped save his family in his own cellar. Thanks to Giorgio Goldenberg's evidence, in 2013, Gino Bartali was recognized as Righteous Among the Nations by Yad Vashem, the world's Holocaust Remembrance Center. Righteous Among the Nations is an award for non-Jews who selflessly risked their lives and the lives of their families to save Jews during the Holocaust. It's estimated that around 800 Jews were saved thanks to the work of Gino Bartali and the Assisi Underground. What attracts me in Bartali's story is that just like me, he loves cycling. But unlike me, when I was a pro, he didn't let cycling be the only thing for him. He used it to achieve way greater things. He risked his life to save the lives of people he never met. He had every possible reason not to do so, and he still decided to do it. For me, he's an inspiration. I believe greatness is not about winning. It's not about what people say about you, but it's about doing the right thing at the right time, in place when sometimes someone else just don't. Gino Bartali's story is an integral part of the Jewish and Israel story. We owe him a lot. The Giro arrival here is a celebration of sport, but it's also a celebration of life. And it's an important opportunity for us to thank him and people like him who helped save so many. To share Bartali's story with the rest of the world was doing what's right, and that's Bartali's legacy.